Here's the thing. I'm just going to read the quotes. This is on his podcast there. What's it called again?
Stripes and Snipes.
Stripes and Snipes or something like that.
And Jeremy Roenick.
Yeah. So here's Roenick talking about his Winter Classic experience. All the players came up to me, Chelios, and Savard except one. That was Connor Bedard. If we don't have that respect to go up and fist bump to say congratulations, how can you do it with your own teammates? I'm not ripping on him in terms of his personality or anything like that. If he's going to be the captain of this team, there's a lot of things he has to learn, has to think about in terms of being that leader, being that captain. And unfortunately, he dropped the ball. Okay.
Ooh, laptop's closed.
When Jeremy Roenick was welcomed back to the organization,
Recently.
honored with his night, we said, the door is open for this man to have his number retired by the Blackhawks. Lucas Reichel was told in no uncertain terms, hey, man, you should probably change your number soon.
Mm-hmm.
And he did to 73, which was somehow available. We said, can Jeremy Roenick stay out of his own way long enough to get his number in the rafters? Can he go a year without saying something completely stupid and selfish and childish? And he lasted a month. What was the date of the Jeremy Roenick jersey or the whatever day that was? It was December something.
That was this month.
No, it wasn't this month.
Yeah. It was this month.
It was January?
Or December, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was December something.
I don't know what day it is. It was recently.
Regardless, he didn't last
2 weeks. It was basically 2 weeks.
Without saying something dumb and selfish and 100% Jeremy Roenick. And I have said on this show, I've written it in my book, I've written it in things I've written for several different outlets. Jeremy Roenick was my all-time favorite hockey player. He's the reason I love hockey. Jeremy, shut up. Stop making it about you. Connor Bedard was about to play a hockey game. I'm sorry he's not interested in fist bumping a guy. He wasn't even born when you played.
Fair.
I'm sorry he didn't kiss the ring of Jeremy Roenick before a game. He's trying to play. He's trying to win. Who cares? You just had the entire city, the entire organization, everyone come out and cheer for you and sing your praises and talk about how great you are. Everyone praised your Hall of Fame speech, and one player doesn't fist bump him, and he goes on his 75th ranked podcast to complain about it and whine about it like a baby. Dude, you just slammed the door on your own fingers. Because if I'm Jamie Faulkner or Danny Wirtz, I'm like, that's it. We gave him a chance. We opened the door for him to come in and get his number retired. Maybe in the 100th season, maybe next year, whatever it might be. And he blew it just as everybody knew he would. Everyone knew he was going to do something like this. And for me, a guy who grew up loving Jeremy Roenick, it breaks my heart that he did that because I was waiting for that number to go up there because it deserves to be up there for hockey reasons. But for the crap he keeps doing to himself and to others, it's not going to happen probably. It is ridiculous. It is frustrating. It is the most predictable thing in the world from Jeremy Roenick. Just keep it to yourself or handle it with Connor and say, hey, man, you know what? I wanted to give you a fist bump and I didn't. Is everything cool with us? And Connor would say, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even, the truth is it probably didn't even cross his mind because he was focused on a game or practice or whatever the situation was. He's not. If Connor Bedard is getting ready for a game or practice and he goes, okay, skates, helmet, pad, stick, I got to make sure I fist bump the legend too. Screw that. He's thinking about hockey. That's how it should be. That's how it should be. Yep. It is so aggravating and predictable that my favorite player of all time screwed himself again with his big mouth. Dude, stop, please.
And I feel like, and we didn't have the broadcast of the game in front of us while we were covering the Winter Classic. So I'm looking at it right now, and I'm not going to see the whole thing. But Roenick, Savard, and Chelios go out for the ceremonial puck drop, and they got the red carpet and everything. My guess is that it's moments before the Winter Classic starts. It's a big moment. There was this whole lead up to it and everything. Memory's not serving me correctly, but I think Bedard started the game. So he might have just been going out to the ice. It might have. I think it's fair to say that young Connor Bedard in that moment is probably thinking, all right, let's get to this game. Let's start it. He's probably even just like, I'm done with all this like pregame stuff. I'd love to just start this game.
As we were working it, we didn't get to see the broadcast. And again, I'm a little fuzzy on when exactly this diss from Connor Bedard happened. But
I would think
is that what he's talking about before the ceremonial puck drop?
I'm think it's either before or after is my thought. Is either getting onto or leaving the ice.
For those who watched it on TV, because we didn't, we were there. Wasn't Connor Bedard interviewed before the game too?
I'd imagine he was.
So couldn't that have been a factor too?
He might have been.
By the way,
it
doesn't matter if 11 forwards, 6 defensemen, and 2 goalies fist bumped you, and Connor Bedard didn't. I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah, no, and I think I think the point of, if you have this big of a problem with it,
handle it like a man.
Call him, send him a text or see him sometime after the game or something like that, and talk about it that way. I think is one thing to go about it. I think it's to have the reception that he did following being nominated or being inducted into the Hall of Fame, coming back to Chicago, being back in the spotlight within the Blackhawks sphere, having the night where you honor his induction to the Hall of Fame. He talked about having a different perspective over these years.
I said it that night. It sounds like he's been humbled.
Yeah, being humbled by kind of having to wait on the Hall of Fame and all that, and wanting to. I can't remember the specific quote when he did the Q&A with Troy Murray, but he talked about like wanting to be around the Blackhawks more and be able to, kind of be in that spot again, and knowing what he has to kind of do to be able to have that spot and the privilege it is to be in that kind of role with the Blackhawks. And then 2 weeks later to kind of put on blast the face of the franchise, it's quite the choice. And I think it's over something like this is extremely just disappointing to see from a guy who seemed like he knew how much he had kind of screwed some things up in his relationships in the past with the organization. And you could say that some of it is on the organization too. Fine. But it's not that, Roenick is without fault. And then to come back with this situation, it puts you back in that spot. And I feel like you probably hit it the best of, the way that this all feels with Roenick once again, is that it is a predictable situation.
Well, Lord Hosta says it right. He says, how easy it would have been for Roenick to just call Connor and say, hey, Connor, I didn't get a chance to say hi at the Winter Classic. How's it going? Are we good? That's it.
Sure.
That's how you handle something like this.
And you can even bring up to the point of like, I felt this way because you didn't say hi to me and blah, 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 and respect the game and all those points that he felt like he had to make. You can bring that up to Connor. And Bedard is a guy that, it's not just like he's flippantly playing hockey just because he's good at it. Like he is very ingrained in the sport, life. And it's knowing the NHL is a big part of it. So did he ever see Jeremy Roenick play live with any significance in his life? I would think not. He was born in 2005.
Yeah, Roenick was retired by then, wasn't he?
He was retired by 2009, I think it was. But I'm sure he still knows who Jeremy Roenick is.
Of course he does.
It's not that it's not that it. I don't think it was a calculated snub.
08-09 was his last year.
Roenick, Chelios, Savard. Like Chelios and Savard have been around the team. He knows he has a relationship with those guys. I just don't think that this is a singular instance that was calculated by Bedard to be like, I'm going to snub Jeremy Roenick. Like, I don't think that's
Well, I
the realm
think,
of
and Dead Hawk
possibility.
kind of hits the nail on the head here and says, right down a little bit there, sir. It gets a lot more podcast listens when you blast the face of the future of the league, though. That's true. This is a lot. This has gotten his podcast and Tim Peel's podcast a lot more recognition and notice than it's been getting lately. And those guys, from knowing both of them, not personally, but knowing of their histories, went into the creation of that podcast saying, we're going to be controversial. We're going to get headlines. It's how those guys both operate. It is about getting a reaction. And that's what made Jeremy a really good player. Not only was he great at pissing you off as an opponent, then he'd put 4 points on you that night too, to add to the frustration. But that's the personality. The personality is agitator, crapster, all those things with immaculate, amazing talent. And it does seem a little calculated, because if we want to talk about hockey code and this thing that all these old school players talk about, not confronting a guy face to face about it is about as anti-hockey code as you get. Right?
That's fair.
And again, he could reach out to anyone in the organization and say, hey, I want to get a note to Connor. How can I do that? Sure. We're happy to pass it on for you, JR. What do you want to say? Or here's his number.
Yeah.
And say, hey, man, like, I just want to make sure we're good. And I'm sure Connor Brower would say, yeah, what do you mean?
New number, who this?
I mean, no, but I think we've all been there where, like, it just happened with me and Steven. I was talking to Steven, like, the Bears show went late. I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess we'll just go screw ourselves. You guys got. And he came and he's like, hey, man, I understand you're upset, but it was a long. I go, I am absolutely kidding. But if Steven hadn't come to me in the kitchen, he would have thought I was legitimately mad. I was just totally kidding with him.
Oh, that's funny.
But he thought I was upset, and he came to me and said, hey, man, I get we were late. I'm sorry, but here's why it was a big day. And I'm like, whoa. There's nothing there. I'm totally joking with you.
That's funny.
So it happens.
Yeah.
It's emotional intelligence.
That's right. Emotional intelligence.
the
And
word.
Steven, very emotionally intelligent, came up to me, because we're good, and asked me, hey, is everything cool? I'm like, yeah, dude, I was totally joking. Sorry if it didn't come across that way. And it's over.
Yep.
That's how you handle something like that, because 99.9% of the time, it's a big nothing burger.
Right.
We all silly like the mayor.